All right, we're live. Welcome, everybody. If you're here live, just say hello. So I know that we're all good and going, and you can hear me, and everything's great and grand and wonderful. And I'll get started here. We should be live streaming. We should be all good. So, welcome to the third day of Copy Hour. And today, we're still going to talk about research. I just want to go over a couple things with you guys. So, first of all, the videos that we're going to be doing for Copy Hour, I've thought long and hard about this. What I want to do is start doing kind of more of an implementation call or a call at the end of the week, either Thursday or Friday, where we discuss the week's assignments and do it in a private setting. So we'll do it on Zoom, and then that way we can all ask questions and we can go over basically what happened that week. I can use these live calls to talk maybe a little bit more about specific, maybe some assignments, but talk more about specific ads, more about copywriting in general. I think in a free format. And then we have the private Zoom calls where you guys can ask private questions, and that will be part of your paid membership to Copy Hour. So that's what we're going to do moving forward. And that way we can make it fair for everybody, and that way I can have some free content on YouTube that will hopefully pick up some new people and bring some more people into our world. So that's how I'm going to do it. And yeah, that's it. I mean, basically sometimes in the past I've done a ton of videos. You can find a ton of videos in Facebook for almost every assignment. There are some missing assignments for videos, but just done a ton of work there, and it's a grind to do hours and hours of video content like that. So hopefully you guys understand that I'd like to kind of condense it into a once a week phone call with members only, paid people only. We can go from there. So hi, Emily. And here's what I want to do. We're gonna keep talking about research today. I don't know if there are any other questions that you guys might have about anything. Obviously, yesterday we were taking a look at awareness levels and market sophistication. And for this particular assignment, just going back to see what I had you guys do as far as if we looked at any sort of no, we didn't look at any at awareness levels yet. And I think I'm saving awareness levels for when we start getting into leads. And on that topic, let me quickly pull up the sales message structure that we have, and we can take a look here. So let me pull that up. Actually, I'm going to hide this for a second. So here's our sales message structure. All right, and I need to find it on my computer. Where'd you go? There you are. Okay, so the sales message structure, this is how a successful piece of copy generally goes. Again, there are no rules, only conversions and copy, but this is generally how a successful piece of copy goes. We start with the lead, then we've got the sales argument, then we have the offer, and then we have the close. Okay? And within each of those sections, you're going to find these particular elements. So everything listed here in A, B, C, D, those are elements of a particular section. So if we look at our ad from today, it's going to follow basically into this format. And I'll show you the different parts of it today. And we're going to talk about the type of lead that we have. We have a promise lead. And we'll take a look at some intricacies of the promise lead, but only kind of surface level stuff, because when we go into leads in more detail, we are going to discuss promise leads. So again, the lead is just how you start. The lead is just how you start the sales message. It's a couple hundred words. It can be just one sentence. But it's always going to have your headline. Your headline's always part of the lead. And then there's always going to be a little bit of lead body copy. Okay, and that lead body copy can be one sentence. It can be a couple pages. Kind of depends on how long your overall sales message is. And we'll take a look at that in just a second, so that we can start getting familiar with what leads look like. And leads are just a really nice, easy way. If you ever sit down and be like, how should I start this? Or what should my headline be about? Well, if you picked a promise lead, then you should have a promise headline. If you picked a problem solution headline, then I'll show you the intricacies of that and what you need to put in there. If you picked a secret, then you can have a secret headline, and your headline should have kind of like allude to some sort of secret, or this or that, something capitalized potentially. There's some sort of method that you're going to show people in just a second, or even if they have to buy the product to get that method. And then, as we saw yesterday with the international living ad, sometimes you can have a story. You can have a mismatched headline with the actual lead type, and that's completely okay. It's going to happen. We're going to see it in a lot of different lead types, that there's kind of a mix and match of the headline versus the lead body copy. But once you get better at this stuff, and once you're more, it's more just getting more familiar with it, you'll be able to distinguish. And the way that I always think about leads and how we start is not necessarily, well, it's more of a feeling. It's more of a feeling you get, like what's happening here. So we'll talk about that more. But there's, we can argue, we can argue back and forth about what type of lead it is. And I would like to say as well, like, I wrote so much copy before I even knew what a lead was. I mean, I generally knew what it was, but I had never studied it. I'd never looked at it. And I would always think of leads as something that was more newspaper related. And so for me, I wrote a ton of copy before I even knew what a lead was. So they're not, they're just tools. Again, most of the stuff I'm giving you are just tools. And again, this kind of comes back to this concept of, with CopyHour, it's more about teaching you how to learn copy. And that's a big part of what I'm doing. I'm teaching you how to learn copy. That's why CopyHour is such a foundational course. It is not a templatized course. It is a foundational course that is going to continue with you for the rest of your life. That's a bold statement, but I believe it to be true. So let's look, and maybe what I want to do is go back to the Facebook group and just see if there are any questions. So again, let's try to get things a little bit neater and tighter with the group. But for now, I'll take a look here. Let me see here. I need to make myself smaller. I've got some really good ideas. I really do think that we are going to be making a transition off of Facebook into a private group, and there is a cool little, it almost looks like Facebook. It's called Circle. It's a cool little product that I can use that will integrate seamlessly with our members area, so we don't have to have another new a new login or anything, and we can just go in there. And I think that's where this is all headed. So anyways, let's look at this. Product is a Pokemon VGC learning community. Okay. Market stage 2. Some VGC streamers have special community perks for subscribers, including dedicated help and learning areas. Some top players offer coaching services. Okay. Interesting. So here's a thing, right? This is a really awesome idea. I love the creativity here. This is one of these situations where sometimes you are pushing a rock uphill. With your market sophistication, as long as you know there are other people selling these things and doing quite well with what they're doing, then it makes sense. This is a good one because you know that there are other people that are offering very similar things like this. If you had been the first Pokemon VGC learning community and nobody else had done it before in the past, that would be a minor red flag. It might be an opportunity, but it might also be something that we call a fool's errand, where you are thinking that you have some crazy opportunity, but because of the fact that nobody else is doing it, it's actually because there's no opportunity there. In this case, you might be onto something here, right? Like this, if there's a couple other people that are doing it, seems like it makes sense. Seems like you can model some other industries to go into this industry, learning communities, courses, membership communities, newsletters, that type of thing. If nobody else is doing it, that might be a really good opportunity here, because you know that some other people have at least started to monetize that market in some way. So you've got something that's very, very interesting here, and definitely run with this and see what happens. If it fails, it could be one of two things. It could be the copy, or it could be the market, because it still is a little bit of an unproven market. So it's kind of hard to decipher sometimes. And that's why it's best when you're just starting out to try and work in a market that you know is proven, because then you can at least say, all right, well, the copy just wasn't there, right? The copy just wasn't good enough. So some things to keep in mind. I think you're onto an idea. I like it. Awesome. Sweet grapefruit. Here, let's see. If you want to check out Market Sophistication is what I'm doing right now. What's the product? A digital information and coaching program for career switchers who want to become full stack developers. Cool. 3 to 5. Yep. Okay. Awesome. I think you nailed it. So, what a month, excuse me, Amanth. I'm sorry, Nath. It's Amonth. I'm really sorry. I'm butchering your name. What you're going to need to focus on here is going to be indirect ways that you can approach people. And let me quickly pull up our thing here, our little awareness chart. And this will be a good instructive thing to do here. Let's see here. Because right now, this week, it's all about research, right? We're just getting started with the research process. And what we're doing in the research process is really just focusing our brain to start. So a month, I'm sorry, Mr. A. Mr. A here. We've got a stage 3 to 5. So for us, what we want to start thinking about, probably some stories. We probably want to start thinking about how a career switcher was able to switch easily and seamlessly and become a full stack developer. We're going to want to start looking for stories that we can have. You might want to do a secret in this industry. I'm thinking for a career switcher, as long as, like, here's the thing you have to weigh. Is this something that people are specifically looking for, or is it only career switchers? So if it's career switchers only, then we've got ourselves a secret lead opportunity where you can tell them about this new easy career that pays XYZ. You just need to figure out, you just have to learn these basic skills. That's what we're going to teach you in this course. You can definitely secretize that. However, if it's people that are switching careers to become this, that type of language might turn them off. What they want is probably something more along these lines. So for you, this is a really good indication of awareness levels, right? So even though the market sophistication is high, you might be more focused on the awareness levels of your prospect. How aware are they of full stack development? How aware are they of how much they don't like their career? Where are they when it comes to their problem? You might have problem or unaware people, right? If you are talking about just career switchers. But if you're talking about career switchers that want to go to full stack development, those people know they have a problem, their job, or that they don't know the skills to become a full stack developer, or they need some extra skills. They're aware of the solutions that you can actually become a full stack developer. They're aware of maybe other courses that exist to help them get there. They're product aware. They know of, this would be like the courses that they know of. So they know that there are courses that can help solve their problem. And this would be like they're aware of the other courses that are out on the marketplace that can help them, the other products that are going to help them switch careers. So in this case, we might want to go with the promise, right? So what I just did there was, yes, we're in market sophistication, but you know what? I think for these people, especially because career switchers is huge. Career switchers is a giant market that's heard everything, right? So those people, you would probably weigh market sophistication more than you'd weigh awareness levels. But with a career switcher to full stack development, I think awareness levels is an easier way to look at it. And for me, if it's a career switcher to full stack development, I'm starting direct. All right. This was an excellent example. So hopefully that me walking through that with you guys is helpful to your own, depending on what you're doing. And that's an excellent example of how market sophistication and awareness levels can be, or should be thought of as completely different things for you, at least on a campaign to campaign basis. Okay. Are there any questions about that example that I just went through? So here, let's look at Aruba. Product, courses, coaching, and books on emotional health. Market sophistication level 3 with many players still dominating the marketing. Okay. Yes. So emotional health, pretty nebulous solution as well. So for you, I definitely think you are going to be wanting to aim towards the unaware, and you need to figure out how you're better, bigger, faster, stronger than the other people that are out there. And maybe it's just some tiny little part that's different. Maybe it's just some tiny little part that's different about what you do. Maybe there's some bold statement that you can make. Maybe there's some emotional customer stories that you can tell. So those are the things that I would be looking for. How can you turn your product, your course, into somewhat of a secret that's going to help them with their emotional issues? I think that that's probably going to be your best bet. You're going to need to live in this indirect area, because if you just make direct promises, then they're directly comparing you to all the other options that they have out there on the marketplace. Okay, so I think you're right on in what you're doing. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to just jump over to the ad, and we'll get started here. So what I want to do today with this particular ad for the people that are going through CopyHour, I just want to basically break down the structure of this just a tiny bit. And I don't know, there might be some, I might have missed some stuff here. Hold on, guys. Bear with me for a second. Six. What are we on? 3. Maybe 2. I'll have to get to this via text. It's just taking too long to load everything up. So let's just do this here. Shoestring businesses that you or your wife can start now and run in your spare time. So obviously, old ad, right? And some of the things that we do want to keep in mind. This type of product is big. People are looking for ideas. People are always looking for business ideas. I used to read these books. I'd go to the library when I was in college and read books on like 100 different ideas or 100 different part-time jobs you can, not part-time jobs, but like part-time businesses you can start. This is a big, big thing. And you can use this concept, and a lot of people do use this concept to create products and make businesses out of. So there's a company, Sam Parr, CopyHour grad, who started The Hustle. He just started a new business called trends.co, and that just gives you business ideas, right? Business ideas. I mean, I'm launching today the weekend launch party, which is basically the Start a Business Challenge. And it's not about necessarily giving you ideas, but the concept behind it is that I'm going to show you how to get started, build a very, very simple email list. Then you talk to people on that email list. Then you go out and create the business or start the product, create the product. So the way that you start a business is by getting people onto an email list first and foremost. Once you start getting people onto an email list, you have started a business. So basically, my idea is you take a general idea that you have about a marketplace, build an email list. I'll show you the right ways to do it. Then you survey people, and there's a right way to survey people, which I'll show you. And then you launch the business that way. So that's basically what I'm getting at here is that this is a big, big industry, right? This is a big, big industry, and you can learn from these ads in the past, right? You can learn from these historical ads. So this ad worked very, very well for a very long time. You can take similar concepts or similar business ideas from these ads that we're looking at, from the older ones. We don't look at a ton of older ads. We do look at older ads because I think studying history is important. How else do you come up with ideas? The man in the Hathaway shirt led directly into the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world commercials. How do you come up with those ideas if you're not studying history? I mean, you can come up with them on your own, but isn't it better to study what worked in the past and maybe see there's some little nuggets in there? Obviously, you can't just take something like this and just put it out into the world again 40, 50 years later and hope that it's going to work. But you can take some of the concepts that we're learning and apply them to modern marketing. Okay, so let's look at this particular ad. And we have a headline here: shoestring businesses that you or your wife can start now and run in your spare time. Interesting headline, like you or your wife. I think what they're doing there, what Gary Bencivenga is doing there, is like saying like, hey, these are like anybody with any amount of time can do this, right? They're that simple, they're that easy that both you or your wife in your spare time can do. Or if you're super busy, you don't have any spare time at all, maybe your wife has some spare time. So different time, like that same concept would not work today, right? Like, because the male-female dynamic in relationships in marriage has definitely changed since this was put out, and both, for the most part, both people are working, so both people have very minimal time. So now it would just be like shoestring businesses that you can start now and run in your spare time. Shoestring is also a word that we don't really use anymore, but like a shoestring budget, like, so a tiny budget. Yeah, so what do we have here? We have a promise, right? We've got a promise headline. So I'm starting to think, because we're promising people that they can start an inexpensive business in their spare time. It's not, right now, it's not a huge promise, right? This isn't a, spend $100 an hour, invest $100 and create $1 million business. It's not that yet, right? Maybe down in the comments, or sorry, in the actual ad itself. And this is a space ad. In the actual ad itself, it's they're going to have a little bit deeper, bigger promises. But for now, it's just a simple, laid-back promise of, hey, inexpensive businesses you can start in your spare time. You or your wife can start in your spare time. So with a promise lead, depending on what kind of claims, what kind of things that the marketplace has heard, you can go both ways. You can scale it back if you think it works better scaled back, as far as like, if there's not a ton of greed. So trying to figure out the best way to describe this. When you have a ton of greed or desperation in the marketplace, you can have promises that are big and bold, and people will kind of suspend their disbelief for a little while. Their skepticism is going to go through the roof, but they'll get deeper into your message because that greed and desperation is so strong. If the greed and desperation isn't necessarily there, or it's been overdone to death, that's a good indication that you might want to step your promise back. If you're going to use a promise lead, you can step that promise back a little bit and see what comes of it. And that promise will be much more easily accepted. So there's the famous blog, Get Rich Slowly. So it has the promise in there, get rich, but it's a scaled back promise. Get there slowly. It's not overnight. It's not quick. So there are cycles in marketing. And this is why studying history is great too. And people talk shit on studying history. Study history, man. Marketing goes like this. Circles. We have, or maybe it's waves, but it's at times promises are huge through the roof. And then you're going to get kind of this wave. So maybe waves is better. A wave where people are like, all right, let's scale back our promises a little bit, right? Let's scale back. It's, start a 4-figure business. Or your first 4-figure client was a product that I sold of Rob Hanley's for a long time. It's just scaled back promises. Still have that kind of underlying promise of, you know what, you're going to make money, you're going to solve this issue that you have, you're going to solve your weight loss problems, whatever it is. You're going to have these scaled back moments of time. And then what happens is, if people are scaling back for a while, then you get these other people that creep in, and then all of a sudden we have more and more promises and bigger promises, right? And you just got to figure out where you are on the wave for your particular industry, right? And then also you should know that with promise leads, if there's enough greed and desperation in the marketplace, there's always going to be those people that are just promising the world. Diet pills are always going to be a thing. There's always going to be people that are just promising the world because that greed and desperation is so high in the marketplace. So a couple different things to weigh when you're thinking about your product. So here we have a scaled back promise. Now, when you have a promise lead, and now we're starting in, so the lead contains the headline and then some of the body copy here. All right, so I'll just read this. Management consultant David D. Seltz is one of the nation's foremost authorities on small businesses. He has written 12 books on the subject and more than 2,000 articles in such publications as Nation's Business, blah, blah, blah. He has spent 14 months researching 18,292 small businesses. So specificity is really good in copy. If you can say he researched, well, and there's two important concepts here, right? Time researching can be a way to build the value of your product. Time researching, time filming videos. I've spent like 300 hours doing CopyHour videos like this, probably more than that. If you can put time and effort behind your product, how much time, effort it took, that's going to increase the value for people. It's a way people anchor that time, anchor that that effort spent, and it ends up helping you increase the price. It's like a price presentation element. It helps you increase the price of your product. So just keep that in your back pocket, but also specificity here too, right? 18,900 or 292. It's not 18,000 small businesses. It's 18,292. It's just kind of oddly specific. Odd, specific. That saying is something interesting to take away here. So he spent 14 months to compile the complete directory of the most profitable small businesses you can start in your spare time for under $1,000. He has published his findings in a book called A Treasury of Business Opportunities, published for anyone who's dreamt of owning a business. In its fascinating pages, you'll learn, okay, the lead is this entire section up to probably like up to this sentence. In its fascinating pages, you'll learn. So now we start what you would think would be the sales argument, but in our case, when you have a direct lead, what's going to happen, and this is getting a little ahead of ourselves, is often your sales argument and your offer don't need to be different. They're kind of one and the same, right? They're one and the same. The reason for that is we don't need a section. A sales argument here would be a section describing why you would want to start a small business, or why you would want to start a small business with a little bit of money, like only a little bit of money down. Describing the opportunity surrounding the product. In this case, we've gone direct. We made a promise. You don't need to be sold on the concept of starting a small business. That's what Gary Bencivenga is saying. You don't need to be sold on this concept of starting a small business. You just want to jump right in and start that small business. So here is my book. Here is the features. Here are the features and the benefits. In this case, it's kind of like testimonial style bullets here to start. So, you know, in a way, you could view this as a sales argument. And I mean, it's hard. Like, the reason I'm getting tripped up here is because a sales argument and an offer are one and the same. I separate them to try to help you understand the difference between the two. So here we are providing some testimonial stories. And then from there, we're going to jump in and talk about exactly what's inside of the book, right? So two different ways that you could look at this. These testimonial stories could be viewed as part of the offer, or these testimonial stories could be viewed as really just the sales argument, because they're really making you want to start a small business. They're kind of selling the opportunity surrounding the product, even though Michael S. is like a member of your particular product. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I'm not confusing you too much. But generally, when you have a direct lead, you can just jump right into the features and benefits of your product. Because when you have a direct lead, you're kind of saying people are already sold on this. You don't need to explain to them their problem. You don't need to explain to them the opportunity surrounding the product. You don't need to explain to them why they would want a small business. If you think that you do need to explain that stuff, then that's good for right after the lead. And then after you've explained to them why they'd want to start a small business, then you jump into the offer, hit them with the features and benefits. Hopefully that makes sense. So what we have is a promise lead, and it is, look, we've got 3 paragraphs. Important stuff within a promise lead, specifically. Proof about the person behind the product or the person making the promise that you see up top. Proof about that person. So in this case, he's an authority. You can't really get away with this stuff anymore, like saying he's authority, unless they actually are, which if they are, then great. 12 books, that's a definite big credibility indicator. 2,000 articles, huge credibility indicator. In these big third-party proof here, he's published articles in these particular books. Then we've got this proof about how much time he spent creating this product and coming up with it. And then we have the introduction of the book itself and the product itself. So when you have a promise lead, you want to have proof immediately up front. And that's basically it. That's basically what I want you to take away from this. We've got a promise headline and then a promise style, and a promise style lead body copy with some proof about who David D. Seltz is, which is important. You want to have proof immediately up front, and that's it. Are there any questions? Any questions from the group? I was thinking about maybe pulling up another ad real quick. So we can look again at promise leads. One sec. I was going to see if I can find a good one. Just so you can see some proof in action here. All right, here's a good one. This is for Revolution Golf. Oop. So you guys can see that. My computer doesn't crash. Here is a promise lead, right? Are you ready to finally start building a reliable and consistent short game? Scale back promise. Build a reliable and consistent short game. What would be a big promise in the golf industry? Can I get some interaction here? I don't know if there's probably quite a delay. I'll just say it. A big promise in this industry would be going pro, right? Becoming a professional, or it could be something like becoming a scratch golfer, or lowering your handicap by 10 strokes. Those would be big promises. This is a scaled back promise because short game, which is putting and chipping basically, those are one just minor portion of the overall thing, and it's of golf, right? One minor portion of it, and it's just reliable and consistent. It's not like right up front, we're not making huge promises, right? So here we've got this promise phrased like a question without a question mark, which I've never been able to understand. And then we've got let Martin Hall, so that's the person behind the product. And then here we've got more promises, how to save 4, 6, even 8 shots around without. So big promise lead indication is if then, so or if without, or how to without, how to do this without doing XYZ, okay? So continued in our promise lead, now we have a testimonial, which is what you want to do when you have a promise. Doesn't matter if it's big or small. Have some proof immediately up front about the person behind the promise. Martin Hall is now the guy behind the product, is now getting a testimonial from the greatest golfer of all time. Tiger Woods, maybe right up there with him. I don't know. Maybe some golf buffs can tell me, but this is one of the greatest golfers of all time, if not the greatest, is giving Martin Hall a recommendation. Proof immediately up front when you have a promise lead. All right, let me show you one more. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Nobody ever has questions for Derek. All right, let's see here. want to get a good one. I was thinking of getting something from Ramit Sethi. But I don't know if it's going to work. Because he does a lot of problem solution leads. So let's see here. Just digging around on my computer. You guys can't see it. All right, here. I might be onto something here. All right. Here's Ramit. I was tired of feeling awkward. What if you could talk to anyone, anytime, using the power of body language to create an instant connection? This is a promise, at least promise headline. I'd need to read a little bit more so I can remember exactly what's going on with the lead. But look, we've got, I would almost just like think of this as you thought of the ad from yesterday, where we had a story to start. This is just a common feeling that people probably have in the industry. So you can almost look at this as like a story kind of, but this is just the common problem that people have, right? Problem and then solution. So this Ramit is a problem solution almost exclusively guy, but he does make a lot of promises, right? So we've got a promise here. What and it's wrapped up as a question mark. And this is another important part of a promise lead. Today's video wasn't supposed to be like just a class on promise leads, but hopefully this is helpful. When you have a promise, if you need to scale it back a little bit, soften it, you can do it like this. Add a question mark to it. Instead of talk to anyone, anytime, using the power of body language to create an instant connection, soften it by saying, what if you could? What if you could? So what if you could talk to anyone, anytime, using the power of body language to create an instant connection? Brilliant use of the question mark, all right, for a promise lead. Then, because I've made these promises, talk to anyone, anytime, with the power of body language, creating an instant connection. So body language is like the thing that makes it go, right? The mechanism here. Now we've got Ramit introducing himself and giving his credentials. We've also got all this stuff here, right? These things here. Have you ever noticed these and said, why did they put those there? Why do they always have those things? Well, they're probably making promises to you somewhere, and having proof immediately up front is a good thing. So, hi, I'm Ramit, and now we have our proof immediately up front. Okay. Now, you've watched this video. You're starting to think about promise leads. You're probably getting ideas for sales pages, etc. The things that you need to watch out for. This is only for promise leads. If you have a secret or a story, or you're going much more indirect, putting this proof immediately up front takes somebody out of the story, takes somebody out of the secret. This is why you're going to see people introduce themselves deeper down into the message. You introduce yourself after you have spoken about the problem and the potential weird new solution that's available, or this crazy new solution that's now just hitting the marketplace. And you're describing how they can solve their problem, or describing this new solution that's available that helps solve their problem. And that's the story that they're focused on. Or you're telling this long-winded story about, maybe not long-winded is the wrong word, but you're telling a longer story about somebody that almost died, or they were on their deathbed, and then they kind of came back with whatever it is that they came back, had an epiphany, or they came back because of your product, whatever it might be. You keep them in that story, and then you take a step back and say, hi, I'm Dr. Derek. And then you go from there. And then you provide your credentials. So in an indirect situation, introducing yourself too soon is a problem. is a problem because you're kind of ripping them out of whatever these indirect storylines are, secrets, proclamations. You're kind of ripping them out of here. When you have a promise, you're going direct. You're saying, I'm selling you something, man. Here's why it's awesome, and here's why I'm awesome, and you should listen to me. When you're going indirect, you're being like, hey, I'm solving your problem here. I figured out how to solve your problem. Let's talk about what's going to happen to you. It's like you stuff. When you're selling that, when you're direct, you're being like, hey, I've got something awesome. Here's why you should listen to me. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. I think I'm going to end it at that. And we can continue to talk about research tomorrow. Again, you've got me this whole week. And then starting next week, we are going to be doing end of the week kind of implementation calls for CopyHour and what you're learning. And that way we can have a private group scenario and speak privately. We're going to take this to our OnlyFans page. Just kidding. But kind of, I guess. But I'm not going to be getting naked. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.